Colorado Supreme Court just ruled to disqualify Donald Trump from the presidential ballot.
Wow, so a former federal conservative judge just said live on CNN that the Colorado Supreme Court was right to disqualify Donald Trump from holding office in 2024. This is former conservative federal judge Michael Ludig, and he served on the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fourth Circuit for 15 years, and he slammed Donald Trump in this interview tonight. On Donald Trump being disqualified in Colorado, he said the individual justices of the Colorado Supreme Court brought honor to their court and as well to the state and federal judiciaries with their opinion tonight in this historic case.
Meanwhile,
the media knows that this is a dicey ruling, okay? But they're playing it like, well, I'm sure Trump is just going to say, hey, listen, when you bring something that opens you up to criticism, you're asking for it. And that's what happened with this ruling. You are begging Trump to make the case that the system is coming after him and doing anything it can.
All right, guys. So, of course, we got to follow up on the biggest story of probably the year, really, is the fact that we have a liberal activist Supreme Court out in Colorado trying to overthrow our republic by removing candidates from the ballot whom they disagree with politically, because that's what happened out there in Colorado. If you have been living under a rock, if you don't know what's going on, Trump has been removed from the ballot in Colorado. Now, will this decision actually really, take effect? Probably not, okay? The Supreme Court is probably going to end up overturning this. The court has stayed the ruling until January 4th. So again, the Supreme Court has time to look at it. They're basically going to force the Supreme Court to decide whether or not Trump should be allowed on the ballot, which again, it's extremely silly that we're even having this conversation in the first place, because Trump has not been charged with any crimes related to an insurrection, right? Trump has not been charged criminally with an act of insurrection. Nobody involved in January 6th has been charged with any crimes of insurrection. So I don't know how you use the 14th Amendment to justify removing somebody from the ballot because you believe that he participated in insurrection, even though he hasn't even been criminally charged with participating in an insurrection, okay? And here's the thing. The liberals are celebrating this, okay, as if this is some type of victory, but ultimately, at the end of the day, this is going to backfire big time. The same way that it's backfired before in the past when it came to the FBI raid against Trump, which initially boosted his poll numbers, and then once he actually started getting indicted, his poll numbers went up. Once he got indicted even more, his poll numbers went up. Best believe this might guarantee a landslide for Trump against Biden, because I do not think that the Supreme Court is going to allow this to stand.
Well, this court just handed partisans on both sides the ultimate tool to try to shortcut elections. And it's very, very dangerous. I mean, this country is a powder keg, and this court is just throwing matches at it. And I think that it's a real mistake, but I think that they're wrong on the law. January 6th was many things, most of it not good. In my view, it was not an insurrection. It was a riot. That doesn't mean that the people responsible for that day shouldn't be held accountable. But to call this an insurrection for the purposes of disqualification would create a slippery slope for every state in the union. This is a time when we actually need democracy. We need to allow the voters to vote. We need to hear their decision. And the court here just said, you're not going to get that. In Colorado, we're not going to let you vote for Donald Trump.
No.
And, you could dislike Trump. You could believe he's responsible for January 6th, but this isn't the way to do it. I mean, it is, for people that say they're trying to protect democracy, this is hands down the most anti-democratic opinion I've seen in my lifetime.
Facts. It's anti-democratic, it's authoritarian, and it exposes the hypocrisy of the Democrats. It actually makes it look like what everybody is saying on the right about how the state is going after Trump, the government, the powers that be, the DOJ, the Biden administration, everybody, the system is coming after Trump. It makes those claims look very, very, very credible, okay? And this is why Trump's going to get a boost. It's almost as if they want Trump to win, right? The liberal media wants Trump to win. How many times I've talked about this, guys? Okay, I've talked about this so much. Okay, these people are the same people comparing Trump to Hitler, right? The more that they attack him, the more that they talk about him, the more that his poll numbers go up, the stronger that he gets, okay? This is Trump's superpower. He's the only politician in history that I've ever seen get stronger, regardless of the attacks again. It doesn't matter what it is, right? The man just continues to get stronger. We're witnessing history here, guys, okay, in multiple ways. So with that being said, the mainstream liberal media knows, right? They know what's about to happen. They know that this is going to backfire, while some people at MSNBC are celebrating, and, you know, liberals on TikTok are masturbating to this because this is the only type of sexual stimulation they ever get in their lives, right? Yeah, it's going to backfire, right? It's going to backfire. And I want you guys to watch this clip from this CNN anchor who's going to ask Frank Luntz, somebody who I'm not a fan of, by the way, but, you know, even Frank Luntz can see that this is not going to end well for the liberal powers that be in regards to stopping Trump from becoming president in 2024. And her face is just absolutely hilarious, okay? It's like she's slowly dying inside as this man explains how this is going to backfire. So before we get into it, we have to have a word from the sponsor of this video, Noble Gold. Chances are you've been here before. The chaos in the markets, oil, stocks, just when you thought it was safe and interest rates were rising, new threats are coming out of nowhere. Tensions are boiling from Asia to Europe, and adaptation is the key to securing your wealth. You may not have considered gold before. It's not speculation, but insurance. And right now, you need some insurance. Noble Gold Investments has been protecting investors from disaster for years with precious metals. So if you're worried, it might be time to take a fresh look at gold and silver. Gold is a proven shield for your portfolio and a volatility balance against uncertainty. If it helps, Noble Gold Investments is offering a free 5-ounce America the Beautiful coin with its new IRAs this month. If you open your Noble Gold Investments IRA or roll over your 401k, you can claim your coin today. Remember, crisis brews, portfolios waver, and gold insulates. Secure yourself against threats today. Go to noblegoldinvestments.com. That is noblegoldinvestments.com, the only gold company I trust. And just remember, there's a risk with every investment, and there's no guarantee of any kind.
And Frank, what do you think the impact of this ruling will be on their support for him?
It's going to be exactly what the indictments did. It's going to be exactly what the criticisms have done. Donald Trump thrives on negativity. He thrives on legal systems that try to hold him accountable.
Look at her face, bro. Look at her breathing, dog. Right? Her face. This is hilarious because she's realizing that, damn, this ain't gonna do a damn thing. They all know. These people are exhausted. They're exhausted with their Trump derangement. They're exhausted by the fact that they have to continuously attack Trump. And even though it doesn't work, he's still getting stronger. This is the face of exhaustion, okay? This is the face of realizing that what you're doing is not going to work.
And I'm convinced that his polling numbers are going to go up. Just today, the New York Times published 6 key swing states and had Donald Trump up beyond the margin of error in 5 out of the 6. The polling earlier a month ago was significant. Trump is gaining. The more that he is prosecuted, the more that he is condemned, the higher his numbers go as people rally around him. And
now again, this guy is a professional pollster. I've been saying this for years, okay? I've literally been saying this for years. I'm like, these people want Trump to win, right? They have to, because the best way to beat Trump is to stop talking about him. Leave him alone, right? Literally, the time in which, after January 6th, they stopped talking about Trump the most, when Trump had no airtime, when they weren't talking about Trump at all, they were focused on other things, like DeSantis maybe, Trump's poll numbers were the lowest, right? They were the lowest. They rose as soon as the deep state started coming after Trump, and as soon as the mainstream liberal media went back to their 2016, 2020 coverage of Trump, which is every single day, right? Every single day, nonstop derangement.
say to the judges, as I said to the Justice Department, you're actually making it more likely that Donald Trump is elected next November by how you are pursuing this. You don't explain the decisions. You don't put things in context. And so Trump climbs and climbs and climbs. And right now, he's beating Joe Biden clearly nationwide.
And, you know, here's the thing about this point. They don't explain things. They don't put things in context. Also, add on top of that, they don't have fair debates in the media. Because anytime Trump brings up this idea that he's being politically persecuted, what they do is that they take some small snippet of the point that he was trying to make, which is that, hey, you know, Biden's acting like a dictator, right? Maybe I could be a dictator since Biden's been a dictator. They take that and they want to blow it up out of context in regards to what he was actually saying, and they never want to engage in the substance of his argument, which is that I'm being politically persecuted. Or they cry hate and bigotry, right, in some way, like specifically when he's talking about immigration. So again, when you consider all these things, of course the American people are going to be skeptical of this. Of course, Trump's claims that he's being politically persecuted are going to seem more credible when you continue to have things like this happen with no real public debate, okay? No context, no explanation. It just is, right? It just is. And people are skeptical. People are saying exactly what's happening because it's obvious what's happening.
Well, for the judges would say, look, we're just going by the law without fear of favor. And I mean, but does the context even matter to Trump supporters? Because there have been, I mean, tonight's ruling was really lengthy, explaining point by point why they believe he incited the insurrection, why the 14th Amendment applies to him. But to the average Trump supporter, does that context even matter? Is this more about, once again, Trump is the victim of the deep state?
Trump has not been charged with an act of insurrection criminally. To me, it does not make sense for you to make an argument to remove somebody from a ballot, to say, hey, the people don't get the right to vote for this person, okay? They don't get the right to vote for this person based off an opinion of the court that's not even backed by criminal charges. Okay, if Trump was criminally charged and found guilty of an act of insurrection, I think we would be having a different conversation. I still don't think that it would be fair. Okay, I still think it would be politically motivated, but the argument would be much stronger. It would be much more believable. But the fact that not only Trump, but nobody involved with January 6th is actually charged with an act of insurrection criminally, it just makes this so much less credible, because it's like you're doing something that should only be reserved for the absolute worst of the worst of the worst circumstances. Again, like, for example, you know, what happened with the Civil War, right? And the Confederacy and all that, okay? Which is why it was written in the first place. January 6th was not that, right? Despite what the talking heads at MSNBC try to claim, which is that, you know, January 6th, or, you know, defending Trump or thinking that Trump should remain on the ballot is siding with the Confederacy.
To the Republican candidate's argument that this should be, the voters should have the say and not the courts.
Why are you standing with Confederates who betrayed this country? And this is what they're standing with, is the spirit of those Confederates rather than the Americans who came together after a long and brutal civil war that was fought to keep the Union together, and clearly saw a threat in ex-Confederates running for office, so much so that they amended the Constitution to prevent those traitors from running for office. That should send a message that our election system, our electoral system, can be used for nefarious purposes against the democracy itself. It's clear. It's clear as day.
Yeah, so you see that, you heard that. So according to MSDNC, if you think that the voters should decide whether or not Trump should be president of the United States, if you think that the voters should get a choice, you're siding with the Confederacy. I mean, you heard it straight on MSDNC. Okay. Once again, take notice how she fails to engage with the actual substance of the question, which is why shouldn't voters decide should Trump be president? Why take away this right from voters? Why have the Supreme Court take away something that is essentially a democratic function of this country? Well, you're siding with the Confederacy, right? You must be a bigot. You must be racist. Again, this is what I'm talking about, the dumbing down of the media. And this is why Trump continues to get stronger and stronger and stronger, because instead of making an argument for why it makes sense for the Supreme Court of Colorado to overthrow democracy, nah, she just defaults to, well, if you disagree with the overthrowing of the democracy, then you must be siding with the Confederacy. You must be a bigot. You must be a traitor, right? She's treating Trump as if, again, he is a Confederate, as if he declared war on the United States. And that's most certainly something that he did not do, okay? So again, you see, and I tell you guys, once you see it, you can't unsee it. I listen out for every time I hear these people argue. I'm like, they never engage with the actual substance of anything. It's always defaulting to, well, if you disagree with me, then you're hateful, you're bigotry. You're bigot, right? If you disagree with overthrowing democracy, right, then you're hateful, you're bigot. Again, it's funny how this works. You know how they complain about the decisions of the federal Supreme Court? Right. And they claim that, it's so undemocratic, right? Because it's 6 conservative justices to 3. OK, now you have an all liberal court out in Colorado, and they make a completely unprecedented ruling based off an extremely liberal interpretation of the 14th Amendment in the Insurrection clause that doesn't even have a criminal charge to back it, let alone a conviction. And it's 100% legitimate, right? Totally legitimate. In fact, again, if you disagree with it, you're a Confederate. Amazing. But like I said, this is going to backfire. I think that the Supreme Court is not going to stand for this. If the Supreme Court does not rule in Trump's favor, then having 6 conservatives on the Supreme Court didn't mean a damn thing. The only thing they did to the Republican Party was basically destroy our chances of winning elections by overturning Roe v. Wade. And now they're also basically overthrowing democracy as well, too, by not allowing Trump on the ballot, right? So I'm just saying, Trump having this conservative majority, okay, in the Supreme Court is really going to come in handy here, okay? If it doesn't come in handy here, then there's no point, right? There's no hope, right? It's over for this country, okay? I'm so serious. There's no hope for this country if the Supreme Court does not step up and do the right thing. So, hey, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.